What's going on? What's going on, film fam? Welcome to another episode of Let the Film Speak. I am one of your hosts, Chop. Here with my main man, Willie Jack. Willie Jack, how you doing this evening, big dog?
Man, I can't lie to y'all. Feeling a little under the weather, but I made it at 7 o'clock, and I'm talking about with my dog, man. So I'm feeling good, feeling great.
Absolutely, man. And y'all know what this is. This is the divisional round recap, man. This is where we're gonna recap those last two games that we didn't get a chance to get to on Sunday, of course, because they happened on Sunday. So we're gonna recap those games. We got a couple treats for y'all. We got some news in the bag. But before we do any of that, y'all know what we got, man. We got the house rules, man. That's like, that's share, that's subscribe, and also hit that notification bell. You know what I'm saying? Become the newest member of the Film Fam. Holler at your partners. Let them know what we got going on, what we got cooking in the building. You know what I'm saying? And ring that bell, man. Be in the know of what we got cooking. And I guarantee you, we will not let you down. We got a little bit of news, Willie Jack. We got some news, man. We're going to run through this news real quick and touch on a few of these. A few of these we kind of talked about throughout the season. But without further ado, I think it's about time we go ahead and jump into it, man. First bit of news we got on today, man. Former offensive coordinator Brian Johnson is out of the Eagles organization. They fired him. He is no longer the offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. Willie Jack, what was your ultimate take on this one, man? I know the Eagles have been struggling throughout. Most people would agree Eagles struggled offensively throughout this year, man. So, give me your take on this one, man.
Yeah, man, I think the writing was on the wall. That offense, just that team in general on both sides of the ball, on both sides of the ball, took massive steps back. The later they got into the season, the steady decline and the worse and worse production got. And so this one doesn't surprise me. I think the only thing that surprised us, I think we might have talked about it a couple weeks ago, where he had an interview for a head coaching job somewhere, and so which was surprising seeing the lack of production in that offense, but like I said, I don't think anyone, especially Philly fans, is overly shocked or surprised to hear this news.
Absolutely, and I'm there with you too, Willie Jack. This definitely was one of those things where it was like, all right, it was only a matter of time, or not necessarily a matter of time, but it was more so the way that this year panned out. If Nick Sirianni wanted to keep his job for the next year, which is crazy to even think about, especially after the year they had last year, they were going to have to make some news and make some changes when it came to their offense and how they approach the game. Now it is a matter of time in terms of what they're going to do with this defense. Is the defensive coordinator going to be out? Because their defense had problems too, especially with defending the pass. That was off the chain, you know. So they lost the defensive coordinator after the tremendous season they had the year before, and then they took 3-4 steps back after that. So now it's just, to me, you know, what is that going to look like going forward in terms of their defense? So I'm curious to see what they're going to look like too, Willie Jack.
No doubt.
Absolutely. In other news, going over to Green Bay, man. Green Bay Packers also decided to part ways with a coordinator. They decided to part ways with their defensive coordinator, Joe Barry, man. Joe Barry is out. He spent a few seasons over as the Green Bay Packers defensive coordinator, and now it looks like they're trying to go their separate ways, man. And this one, I couldn't pinpoint it. I at first I wanted to say this seems like a little bit more of a scapegoat move, but I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say if it's a scapegoat move. I think this is just more so of a move where the Packers just needed a change in a head guy that's running their defense, because the defense has had good spurts. They had some bad spurts. They've been kind of up and down for the most part. I think they finished like 17th ranked in terms of total defense after this year. But I think the Packers believe that with the talent that they have on the defensive side of the ball, that their defense should be playing a lot better. And we've saw spurts of them playing more so closer to a top 10 caliber defense than a top 17, top 20 type of defense. So they have the talent. They have some of the guys there. It's just a matter of getting the right guy in position to help, you know, boost this defense and keep them consistent. And if Jordan Love continues to improve and that offense continues to show what they showed in the playoffs and later in the season, and they get a good defensive coordinator that can put things in place, we could be looking at a team that could be very dangerous in the future, man. So I think that's what the idea what the Packers had here? What's your take on it? What do you think? What do you think the Packers thing in terms of getting rid of Joe Barry?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think the unit underperformed, and so this is a very talented defense. And I know you won't remember, but coming into this year, when we were making predictions about the Packers, I chose them to win that division. I thought that defense was going to be a top 5 unit because
Yeah.
that's how they've got those pieces in place. You've got Rashawn Gary, who really came on strong to close out last year. Then you give him a big money contract. You've got Quay Walker, the linebacker, the young linebacker out of Georgia, sideline to sideline speed. You've got I can't even think of the other inside backer who was coming off a phenomenal Pro Bowl, borderline All-Pro style year as well. You've got Jair
You say Campbell already? You said Campbell
Campbell.
already, right?
That's the guy I was trying to think of. Yeah, you got Campbell, him paired with Quay Walker. You've got Jair Alexander, a perennial Pro Bowl style corner. You've got a young Eric Stokes who showed himself well last year as a rookie as well. You've got Darnell Savage. Excuse me. So they had, excuse me, they had all this talent on this unit, and like you said, it just never lived up. The production and the quality of that defense never lived up to the perceived talent and skill or ability of the unit itself. 17 is nothing to write home about. That's just middle of the pack. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so middle of the pack we shouldn't be middle of the pack with. We've got quality name guys on this defense, and we should be top 10 should have been without a question through the duration of the year. And like I said, not just in kind of those spurts. And especially they definitely picked it up towards the end of the year, coinciding with just that team as a whole after they got through their bye week. They picked it up on both sides of the ball. But like I said, I think that unit and that side of the ball has kind of underachieved, so to say, for these last couple of years. And it was definitely time to make a change. I think so. I don't hate this move. I don't think this one was a scapegoat. I think that they see the talent that they have on this defense and where this defense should be. And like I said, 17th is closer to 20 than it is to 10. And that's unacceptable for all the talent on this unit.
Absolutely, Willie Jack. I'm with you there, man. And hopefully they can get the right guy in place and help this team continue to elevate. So I'm pretty sure that's what they're going to be looking for in years to come. Moving on, Willie Jack. Let's go to Carolina and let's talk GM. Let's talk GM talk, man. Former middle linebacker of the Carolina Panthers, man, Dan Morgan is hired as the new GM and president of football operations, man. He is the new guy over there for the Carolina Panthers. And I wouldn't and actually let me hold off on saying new guy because he's been a part of the Carolina Panthers organization since he was drafted in 2001 out of Miami as a linebacker. So he's very, very familiar with Carolina and the Panthers organization, but now has a new GM job with the Panthers. Willie Jack, what's your take on this one?
No, I love this. I love this news, man. Like I said, and I remember when I saw this story and I posted it in the group. You know what I'm saying? Our Facebook group, we get active in there. So if you're not a point of that, you know what I'm saying, don't cheat yourself, treat yourself. Now tap in with your dogs. But I love to see stuff like this. I love when we get former players who are able to assume positions of real power in these organizations. That man bled, he sweat, he probably shed some tears. He gave years off his life. You know what I'm saying? This game punishes people. You know what I'm saying? He gave years of his life to this organization, and now he gets to now he gets to come back and like I said, be one of the decision makers. So I love these type of stories, man. And so no, I love to see it. Hopefully he does well. I mean, I'm hoping that maybe I'm curious to see how he gets to navigate ownership with Dan Tepper. We've joked and talked about Dan Tepper for every week. It feels like there's almost something we could talk about with Dan Tepper doing something that he shouldn't be doing as an owner. So I'm still curious to see how he navigates that relationship. If Dan Tepper maybe steps out the way and lets him rock. He's got quality experience in front offices. He spent time with the Seahawks for a number of years in their front office. He really kind of he worked his way up. You know what I mean? Like they didn't just pull him off the street and hand it to him like Jeff Saturday getting to be the head coach of the Colts. You know what I'm saying? At the end of last year, just pulled him out the TV booth and just threw him in there as the coach. It wasn't one of those situations. He put in a good 5, 6, 7 years with the Seahawks. I think he put in 2, 3, or 4 years with the Niners in other roles underneath the GM.
Buffalo.
Buffalo. There we go. Yeah,
he went to Buffalo. Yeah. So he was part of the player personnel, or he had a player personnel over in Buffalo. So he's been part of some winning organizations and putting together some talent. So
exactly right.
If he can put it all together here, as you mentioned,
exactly right.
He can do something with that.
Yeah. And then just lastly is seeing because because I would assume he's gonna be instrumental, especially as the new GM, and I think vice president or president of football operations. He's gonna be instrumental in hiring their new coach. You know what I mean? So sometimes when the GM and coach are available, depending on which one gets hired first, that's the one that kind of has the more so kind of the power in that relationship. So let's say if you bring in a guy like, well, let's just use Belichick. Well, if you bring in Belichick first, Belichick might get to kind of hand pick more so his GM. Well, in this situation, you got the GM in first, and so now he'll be the guy to kind of get to pursue and chase the coach. And so I'm curious to see, who he talks into giving Dan Tepper a shot to get out the way and see if they could salvage that organization, man, who seems to be in free fall.
Absolutely, Willie Jack. I'm with you there, man. With you there. And I always like the middle linebacker hires in like these types of positions, even the coaching positions, because the one thing about the middle linebacker position is they got a different eye for the game. Okay, that's the one of the positions on defense. That's the quarterback of your defense, and that's the one position on defense where they have to know what everybody's roles are, what everybody's strengths and weaknesses are. They have to know how to orchestrate their defense. And don't get me wrong, Dan Morgan was a Pro Bowl caliber player, and he was the leader of that Carolina Panthers team or the Carolina Panthers defense when they had some of those trips or those strong runs to the playoffs. And even I believe he was on the team that got to the Super Bowl when they had Steve Smith and those guys back in the day. But he was one of the leaders of that defense and kind of helped those guys get to where they needed to be. And you pair that with his experience in Seattle and Buffalo and helping putting together some talent. I think I like this move here. I like this move, and you need a guy in there that's going to be able to put some players. If there's any team that needs some players around some of the young talent that they are trying to build and build around, it's this team, especially with how we've seen Bryce Young play in his rookie year. This team is desperate for some other guys and for some talent to help build and hopefully make this team a more competitive team than they were this past year. So that's what we're looking for, and hopefully Dan Morgan is the beginning of that.
Yeah. And then lastly, real quick, I just thought about as well, man. I think also you get a different level of respect in the locker room. Guys know you know what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Just like you said, he was the quarterback of a defense. Like he's been in the hunt for the playoffs. He had some ugly lean years. He was probably a part of some units that had to grind and scrape through and battle back and get relevant. And so I think like that stuff counts and it weighs, you know what I'm saying? It weighs a little more. Players look at you and listen to you and even speak or talk to you differently because they know you can directly relate to what's going on. You know what it's like to be in the locker room. You know what it's like when you feel like the coach is BSing you. You know what it's like when, you know what I'm saying? So all that stuff bodes well, man. So we definitely need more former players getting these style of opportunities for sure. So yeah, definitely love to see this one.
I'm with you there, Willie J. Definitely with you there. On to the next one, man. Let's keep going with the GM talk, Willie Jack. The Raiders hire former Chargers GM Tom Telesco as their new GM going forward, man. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Willie Jack. I kind of like this one, man. I like this one for the Raiders, and the reason why is a lot of people like to tie the Chargers' lack of success with, a lot of the coaches, a lot of people like to tie it to like GMs and things like that. But to me, I think Tom Telesco did a really good job when it came to. Tom Telesco did a really good job when it came to just the player personnel for this Chargers team. If you think about what he's done just over the past few years and all the people that he brought in, you got to think about Khalil Mack, bringing Khalil Mack over, making a move, getting rid of Melvin Ingram to bring over Khalil Mack. You also got to think about the drafting of Derwin James, the drafting of Samuel Jr.
Asante
Samuel Jr. End up finding a way to get Jackson over there, JC Jackson over there. The thing with this team was they didn't have a defensive coordinator or a defensive guy that knew how to put that together. I mean, their head coach was supposed to be a defensive guy, but he didn't put all of that together, and he didn't have any idea of how to get that team going. But I like the talent that he's added. Also drafting rookie Rashawn Slater, who ended up being one of the better tackles in the league immediately. Like there's a lot of talent that Tom Telesco put together on that Chargers team, and now you let him go with the Raiders. I think he's going to continue to do the same thing, but now it's just about the defensive guys or the defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, the head coach putting all of that talent together so that those guys can be successful. So those are things that are very important and things that I like about this move with hiring Tom Telesco as the Raiders, man. So in my opinion, I love to see it, man. I think the Raiders can be moving in the right direction in terms of this.
No, and I agree with a lot of what you said there. I think his, like I said, talent for those Chargers teams has never necessarily been the issue. And so Tom Telesco was a GM and a member of that front office there for the Chargers for a number of years. And so I would assume that he was instrumental in hiring Brandon Staley is what I would assume as the longtime GM there. And so I guess if we talk about maybe some of his bigger misses, I think Brandon Staley, after 1 year as a D coordinator for your Rams, and then I guess in this most recent draft, it looks like as early as it is just 1 year in, it looks like Quentin Johnston, man, just doesn't have the goods. You know what I mean? But other than that, like I said, no, he's had some winners. I mean, he's had some great picks. Joey Bosa, back when he used to play football and not sit in the ice tub, you know what I'm saying, was a stud, was a star. The move for Khalil Mack. I mean, you named off most of those good ones, man. But
Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert. I'm trying to think. I believe he's been there. I believe he was there for a decade or more, which means that he would have brought in Keenan Allen in the second round coming out of Cal. I remember Keenan Allen, man, coming out of Cal, and his whole thing was he was slow. He ran a slow 40. He ran like a 4.72 or something like that. I think he had like a sore hammy or something he was nursing, but Keenan Allen falls to the second round and they go get him, and Keenan Allen's going to be a Ring of Honor guy for that team. You know what I mean? And so he's had definitely some great hits there with that team and with that unit. And so and also he's extremely familiar. This is a division rival, and shout out to our dog, man, ZB in the building. He said his last game was the Chargers. They got them hands put on them by Vegas. That was the 63-6 game or 63-30, whatever. They got 50 balls,
something like that,
in Vegas. And so yeah, man, he must have got to look around and be like, you know what, man, I can see myself hanging out here a little bit. You know what I mean? So now he jumps ship, man. No, you know what this was? This was KD getting eliminated by the Warriors and then leaving to sign with him in free agency. That's
what it sounded like to me, really, Jack. Except this wasn't Golden State. It was like I don't know, man. It was a much less talented team.
No, for sure. But yeah, no, man. And so, but I do like the move. And then here's another thing as well, because I think his shortcomings have maybe been in the personnel side and not the player side. Well, the good news is they've got a coach in place, and then it looks like Antonio Pierce. I saw Marvin Lewis was on that staff last year as well, but now he's brought Marvin Lewis back, and Marvin Lewis is going to help him to craft the rest of his coaching staff. Marvin Lewis, the longtime coach with the Bengals, 30 years in the NFL. He was one of Ray Lewis in those early 2000 Ravens. He was the defensive coordinator there for a number of those years before Rex Ryan took over for him when he went to Cincinnati. And so very experienced coach. And so now Marvin Lewis is going to be kind of the guy in Antonio Pierce's ear, kind of helping him build the staff so that Telesco maybe doesn't, well, I'm sure he'll be a part of that process. But like I said, I mean, other than that, though, I think there hasn't been a problem with him finding talent. It's just maybe been the personnel decisions.
Absolutely. What you there, Willie Jack? Keeping it pushing, Willie Jack. We had a hiring, man, and we're moving into the head coaches now, man. We have Brian Callahan. He lands a head coaching job with the Tennessee Titans. Former offensive coordinator of the Cincinnati Bengals is now the head coach of the Titans. Willie Jack, talk to me about this move, man. How you feel about this one?
Actually, man, I think this one, when I saw the news, I feel like this one almost came out of nowhere a little bit for me, because I hadn't heard he was a name that was kind of gaining steam maybe a couple seasons ago as one of these young guys. His dad is longtime NFL coach Bill Callahan. His dad's still coach. I think his dad coaches with the Browns, coaches the O-line. His dad was a part of Gruden's Raiders back in the day. Like that Raiders team that Gruden was the coach of before he left and went to Tampa Bay. So when Gruden left to go to Tampa Bay, it was Bill Callahan, Brian's dad, that took over as head coach and then led that team to the Super Bowl. And then they got, they got smoked by Gruden and the Bucks. Like I said, they kept all the same damn plays. But yeah, so it's his son, and the interesting thing about this, he's been there under Zach Taylor in Cincinnati, but the arrangement there offensively is much like when guys are coaching under Sean McVay, where he was the offensive coordinator for Cincinnati, but he didn't call the plays. So Zach Taylor, the head coach, still calls those plays a la like Sean McVay does in LA, but he's very all reports that he's very instrumental in just the game planning preparation, and I guess he's been given a lot of credit for the success that we saw from Jake Browning when Jake Browning had to come in to replace Joe Burrow. So, but like I said, I feel like this one kind of came a little bit more out of this one kind of threw me off. I hadn't really heard his name of late in this most recent cycle, but definitely I think what it means for the Titans going forward is they're looking to completely change and rebrand the identity of that team and specifically of that offense. So looking at where he's came from, Joe Burrow, you want to have a good young quarterback where they think they have that in Will Levis. We want to open this thing up. We want to let the Ferrari out we want to let the Ferrari on the road. It's no more of this 4x4. You know what I'm saying? So I would expect Derrick Henry to be out of there. They have a young coach, young quarterback. The team is in. I think this signals a hard reset. Like I said, DeAndre Hopkins, who came over last year, I would expect him to not be brought back. Like I said, we already know after the last game that Derrick Henry had there, a very big day against the Jacksonville Jaguars in a win, knocking the Jaguars out the playoffs. They gave Derrick Henry a microphone on the field to let him say his goodbyes. You know what I mean? And so I think they're hoping to kind of mimic or recreate the type of the kind of environment that led to success for Joe Burrow. I would look for them to kind of, like I said, this team isn't going to go through the running back anymore going forward. It's going to go through Will Levis, and then young Will Levis is going to be able to grow and grow and mature with a young new head coach in Brian Callahan. And like I said, I think they try to mimic that blueprint that he's been a part of that was so successful in Cincinnati.
Absolutely. And he also, and like you said, Willie Jack, he brings a little bit of success with him. He was also a part of that Denver Broncos team back in 2015.
That's right.
When they won the Super Bowl. So he's been around some winning teams. He's been around some winning players, some good quarterbacks. And I think part of the reason why they decided to go this direction and hiring him is in hopes that he could help elevate Will Levis to the level that they probably think he can get to. You know what I'm saying? So he's going to have his work cut out for him because I think this is going to be different for him. He's always had, well, for the most part, he's always had a very, very talented quarterback, that he can kind of work with. But, at this time, it's like, what can you put together or what impact will you have on this young rookie and helping him get to where they need to be? So I think that was part of the reasoning behind this move ultimately. So I'm curious to see, what he's going to look like when the time comes in and he really starts to take over this. So that's what I'm looking for. And on to the last bit of news we got. Some news we got just probably a couple hours ago, man, on my way. I think I was on my way home or wherever. I forget where I was at exactly. But Jim Harbaugh has accepted the new head coaching job of the Los Angeles Chargers, man. And, he's going to be the new head guy. Sources say that it's going to be a 5-year deal. The numbers and everything haven't came out yet, or at least I haven't seen them. I don't know if you saw them yet, Willie Jack. But it looks like he's signing a 5-year deal with the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers they're making a commitment to Jim Harbaugh, man. Look like he's going to be the guy. They're going to let him sit behind the wheel. So now it's just a matter of, okay, what can you do? And we all see the task at hand for Jim Harbaugh. It's this very talented team. Can you get them to not only the playoffs, but get them to make a legit run and be really competitive in the playoffs? That is going to be his task at hand. He has a very, very talented quarterback. Nobody can argue that. But how far can you get them? Can you get them over the hump? Can you eliminate all the talks of these guys or the Chargers charging? You know what I'm saying? That's the pressure that you come in facing right away is the Chargers charging. The last time we saw Jim Harbaugh in the NFL, he spent 4 seasons, with the San Francisco 49ers as their head coach. He got a Coach of the Year award, led the 49ers to a Super Bowl in which they lost to the Baltimore Ravens. But he did have some success as a head coach in the NFL before, so he's been here. He has that experience. So now it's time for you to kind of find what you had before and see what you can do with the Chargers. You got some things in place. Now it's just a matter of you putting it together. So I kind of like this move, Willie Jack, and I want to see what he's fully capable of. And I'm still rooting for Justin Herbert, man. I'm rooting for Jay Herb, so that nickname can stick at some point. You know what I'm saying? So I like this move, Willie Jack.
Man, look here, man. If Harbaugh can't fix Jellyfish Justin, just ain't gonna be no fixing of Jellyfish Justin, man. You know
I
what I'm
agree.
saying?
I
And
agree.
so
If he don't do it, then yes, I agree
it
with you.
can't be done. But no, I like the hire. And then shout out to ZV, man. Our dog Zach Mack in the chat. He said he's not a fan of Harbaugh, man. He says it's a hard pass for him. But no, I think it can't be understated. Jim Harbaugh, excuse me, has an absolutely phenomenal coaching record. He's literally won everywhere he has been. And so I think he started at like San Jose State before he got to Stanford, and of course coaching a college Andrew Luck, and then he goes to San Francisco. He had having the wherewithal, or having the clarity, the ability, and also the guts to pull an established veteran and Alex Smith, number 1 draft pick, to pull him out the starting lineup for second round guy Colin Kaepernick to really take that team over the top and break through kind of they had trouble just kind of breaking through and getting over the top with the limitations of a guy like an Alex Smith. And so, but it's a lot more that goes into these type of decisions. I feel like we don't often enough see coaches that are willing to kind of almost, let's say, fall on that sword and pull a guy who's had statistical success. Alex Smith was the perennial guy. He was this for most of his career everywhere he went. We saw the exact same thing kind of play out with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, but also keep in mind, Patrick Mahomes, they traded up for him drafted with the 10th or 11th pick, so that's a little different situation. Colin Kaepernick came from Nevada. If I remember, he came from Nevada. He was drafted in the 2nd round, and so he didn't necessarily have the cachet that Patrick Mahomes did when Alex Smith got pulled and he got inserted into that lineup. And then to see what they did, the run they went on, and then, like you said, it culminated in him winning the Coach of the Year, making it to a Super Bowl where we had a Super Bowl against his brother, and that game ended up being pretty competitive and pretty entertaining in and of itself. That was the notorious game where the stadium lost power. If you remember, I think it was in New Orleans. The stadium lost power. They had that huge delay. They were actually Baltimore came out kind of hot and looked to be taking firm control of that game. Then the power goes out for 35 minutes or so. And then it really kind of helped, I guess, Baltimore kind of lost a little momentum. And then San Francisco kind of gets back in that game or so. And then that game came down to a last second, I think, pass breakup in the end zone to Michael Crabtree. If I want to say, I think they lost that game 34-31 or something like that Super Bowl. But all that to say, he's notoriously been a guy who's abrasive and maybe difficult to deal with in the front office. He's a guy that, he's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, but you can't deny his ability as a coach. And then now culminating with the national championship in Michigan. Also, if we're being honest, the cheating allegations there, I know during the season, and I know you don't get into the college as much, but he was suspended during the season for as part of the initial evaluation, but he got to coach the team in the playoffs. They go on and win. But when all the dust settles there, because we know how college football is, I expect that national championship is probably going to get stripped. You know what I mean? And I think they're going to have to forfeit games and all that good stuff. And so leaving now for him, this is the optimal time to do it. He did what he can. He did what he can to do. He was a champion. Now, whether or not it sticks, that's yet to be seen. But he got the absolute most out of that position, out of that opportunity. He's been to the mountaintop. He was a guy that we always expected to go back to the NFL anyway, or most people did. And so now he has this opportunity. And then to have a young guy in Justin Herbert, as talented as he is, the hardest piece of the puzzle most times is whether or not you feel like you have a guy you can win with at the quarterback position. So that question is already answered there with the Chargers, and now they need a guy that can come in and right the ship on honestly both sides of the ball. It's the same thing like we said earlier. Talent's not a problem there. They've got talent and they've got big names on both sides of the ball, but they haven't had a guy that could come in and put it all together and make it work. And so that's going to be an interesting task that we see Jim Harbaugh and how he goes about it.
Absolutely, Willie Jack. All right, man. That is our news, Willie Jack. I think it's about time we do a film check-in, man. We got some people that rolled up in the building, man. I saw a bunch of comments that already rolled in. Willie Jack, who in the building, man? Who done rolled in and hollered at your boys?
Yeah, for sure, man. First one through the door. Mom Dukes, appreciate you, lady. She said, "Good evening, have a blessed show as always." Shout out to the family. You know we appreciate you, lady. Auntie, the family there holding us down. She said, "What's going on, nephews? Appreciate you." Wife and sister of the show, Mrs. Boyce. She came in here as well. What's up to all the filmmakers? And then of course we got our dog, man. Zach the Mac ZB, our favorite co-worker. He said, "Happy Championship Week," and he's not making any secret, man. He's pulling for a Ravens Lions Super Bowl, and so hey, we'll see what's going on with it, man. But then to the rest of y'all, I see y'all watching. You know what I'm saying? I see y'all watching. All y'all ain't tapped into my chat though now. Drop something in my chat so I can holler at you, shout y'all properly, man. But yeah, let's go ahead and get it going.
Absolutely, Willie Jack. And hey, we got another treat for y'all this week, man. Another treat. Willie Jack was gracious enough last week to bless us with a special topic, man. And what do we have here? My dog came up with another topic for us, man. This one for tonight, man, is called the Playoff Positional Core Rankings. Willie Jack, you want to introduce this to everybody? Let us know what's going on. Lay it up for me.
Yeah, man, for sure. So we in the final four, you know what I'm saying? So to say, as far as the NFL goes, so there's 4 teams left, 2 on each side. Like my dog ZB just said, championship weekend. So I was thinking about it and kind of broke each team down into like I guess their core positions and where do they rank, where do they stack up. And so the positions that I want you to rank in, like in your own order from these final 4 teams, rank the quarterbacks individually. Like, how would you rank the quarterbacks? How do you rank the running back rooms? How do you rank the receiving core? So receivers and tight ends, the offensive line units. How do you rank those? The defenses as a whole. You know, how would you rank those? And then last but not least, I thought about it, man. I know we didn't talk about this one necessarily, but coaching staff. Why would we leave those guys out? You know what I mean? So there's 4 guys who got their team to the they're at the precipice of the mountaintop. And so if you had to rank all these coaches as well, man, but and I'm curious to see when we go through and kind of rank them out in each kind of core position group is how we kind of termed it. Is that going to line up with how we actually pick the games themselves? So let's say if you've got X team ranked higher than another team in the each breakdown of each group there, but then when it's time to pick the games, then y'all had to tune in Sunday, of course. But does it line up with how we actually see the games themselves? And so just something I thought we could have a little fun with, man. So I guess without further ado, right here on the spot, my dog Chop. And then if y'all in the chat, drop something in my chat, man. Let me know how y'all rocking. But right now, man, okay, quarterbacks. If you had to rank the quarterbacks, the final 4 quarterbacks is, of course, Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff, Brock Purdy, and which should be the MVP, Lamar Jackson, man. How would you rank these 4 guys heading into this Final Four weekend?
Absolutely, Willie Jack. Well, since we going into this last weekend, of course, I have to utilize the last week's performance as well, you know, and just thinking about everything in its total. And I quickly got reminded, and I kind of said this before the game started this past week, is that Bills Chiefs game was a game where it's like, hey man, no, nothing matter. No, nothing else beforehand matter. And I quickly got reminded that Pat Mahomes is still that dude, man. So if Pat Mahomes is still on the list, I'm gotta rank Pat Mahomes as my number 1 quarterback, man. So he's my number 1 quarterback.
Okay.
On the list. Behind him, I do have to go with Lamar. Lamar is still playing some phenomenal ball. You know what I'm saying? He's not too far behind Pat Mahomes. It's just, man, we just see it time and time again, man, and he just finds ways to get it done. So I still got to go with Lamar at number 2. He's playing really good ball, not turning the ball over. He's dangerous with his legs, you know. So we know what he's fully capable of. And then over in the NFC, man, those will be my 3rd and 4th ranked quarterbacks. I'm going with Goff as my number 3rd quarterback, man. Goff is my number 3 quarterback. Man, Goff has been the last 2 years, man, has been some really, really good years for Jared Goff. I think he's really coming into his own, and he's helping to lead this team to where you see them are today. And then, of course, number 4, I'm gonna go with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, he's a solid quarterback. He gets the job done. He makes all the right plays, you know, for the most part, you know. But as I've said time and time again, I think he is more so a part of a great machine than the guy at the head of this whole thing. Unlike the other three quarterbacks on these, as far as these teams, I think Brock Purdy is the one that has to do the least amount of legwork of the four guys. So that would be my rankings in terms of the four quarterbacks that are left in the playoffs. Willie Jack, what about you, man? Would you go the same way?
Yeah, I think my list is the same as well. Patty Cakes, Lamar, Jared Goff, and then Brock Purdy. And then we've got some answers in the chat as well. Our dog, man, ZB, Zach the Mac, he's got the same list as us as well, man. He's also taking Mahomes, Lamar, Goff, and then Purdy. And then wife and sister of the show, Mrs. Boyce, she broke hers out, so I'll read them off. She's got Lamar number 1, Patty number 2, Goff 3, and Purdy 4. And honestly, this year specifically, it was very close for me between Lamar and Pat. It really was. And I was very close going with Lamar as well at that number 1 spot. I mean, he's just been on an absolute tear this last month of meaningful football that he's played. We saw how dominant he was in that Dolphins game. We saw, it was a team performance with the Niners, but still a four touchdown day with him there in San Francisco. We saw him dismantle the Texans in the second half of that divisional game there. So he's really stepped it up here this last month or so of football that he's played. But when it's all said and done, just like you said, man, when those championship lights is on, it's hard to go against Patty, man. It just is. So yeah, I gave Patty the slight nod as well.
Gotcha, Willie Jack. So what's next, man? What's up? I'm ready, man. Shoot it, baby. So, I'm ready to get it popping, baby.
Yeah. So next we'll move to the running backs, man. So go ahead, give me your rank the running backs, or running back rooms, however you want to term it. Go ahead and rank those guys for me.
Yeah, man, I think it goes without question for sure. And it's crazy because now that I'm thinking about this in my head, man, I think I did the top two were both AFC teams in terms of quarterback, but my top two are going to be NFC teams in terms of the running back position. Of course, number 1, I don't think anybody else will have anything different. Christian McCaffrey, man. He's been
best in the business, man.
Hey, Willie Jack, I saw you, man. You started to blush a little bit when I said Christian McCaffrey. Like, I started blushing.
It just warms my heart to see you finally coming to the light. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like I've been trying to take you to the water for all these years, and you finally starting to drink. You know what I
mean? Let me slow you down. It's only 4 playoff teams. You know what I'm saying? It's only 4, so I can't pick from 32. You know what I'm saying? But no, man, I can't argue with it, man. Christian McCaffrey clearly had the best season of all running backs. He's my number 1 guy, the number 1 guy in the playoffs. I like that running back room, even with him by himself. Number 2, I got to go with Detroit Lions, man. Just the combination of David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Just the way those guys can like help that offense and help them be more dynamic in terms of the speed, thunder and lightning, all those different things. Like, those guys are very dynamic. Then I would go with Chiefs. I would go with it's hard. It's hard to go against the Ravens in their run game because you know what? No, give me Ravens. I'm going Ravens 3. I'm going Ravens 3. And it's not because of the names, you know what I'm saying? Because if we go talent for talent, of course, some people may look at at those guys as a little less talented than some of the other teams, but just them collectively in their run game. And I mean, truth be told, you can't really exit out. Lamar Jackson does a lot for their run game, so the running backs, they do different things, but I believe that this running back room, I would prefer that style and that offense, like their whole situation. If we're talking about their running back situation, I would take their Ravens situation over the Chiefs situation and Isaiah Pacheco. Not to take anything away from Isaiah Pacheco. I think if we were talking about Pacheco versus just Gus Edwards or Pacheco versus Hill or one-on-one, I'm taking Pacheco. But because of just the way that their offense is orchestrated and the way they're designed, I think I have to go with the Ravens over them as my 3 and 4 spots.
Well, no, my list was the same, of course. I started with the best in business, and then I went to the Lions with Gibbs and Montgomery, a very nice 1-2 tandem there. But then I went Pacheco, then the Ravens, because in my mind, though the guys in the Ravens locker room, being Gus Edwards and Justice Hill, they have to eat off Lamar's plate. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I don't feel as good. Like, I would much rather just turn around and hand the ball off to Isaiah Pacheco 22, 24 times. And I feel great about him being able to live and eat on his own more so than I do Gus Edwards 2 yards in a cloud of dust, or Justice Hill, who just over his career, as fast as he was 6 foot, 215 or 220 pounds. When he came out, I want to say like Oklahoma State, he ran 4.3 nothing. You know what I'm saying? And he just never was able to put it together on the field. You know what I'm saying? And so we saw how quickly a talented back on their own, and Keaton Mitchell, how he looked individually as a running back in that offense, which still, like I said, it's Lamar plays a big part of that. But if we think about it, Lamar was able to kind of sit back and chill for that 5-6 game stretch when they had an actual talented back on his own right, just be able to go out there and get you a bucket. And so I'll take Pacheco, who's more traditionally like, man, we just give him the ball, let him work. If we can give him a hole, he can hit it, he can take it to the crib. You know what I'm saying? Versus these guys. So we differ there. But yeah, the first two, I think we're a no-brainer, man. C-Mac, and then of course that Lions tandem for sure. Then let me see who we got. We might got some answers here. Our dog ZB Zach the Mac, man, he said he's got he had the same list as you: San Francisco, Lions, Ravens, and then Chiefs was his list. And then sis, Mrs. Boyce, you got a list for us on the running backs as well?
And she didn't put none yet. She probably will in a second, but
okay,
if she
I'll go try to read it for her.
We'll definitely have to come back to it for sure.
And then I'll read this last comment by ZB, man, see if we can give us some time to get our list together. He said, you can put us 3 in rotation in that backfield. We run for 150 a game. They had the system set up perfect for it. And see that's a good point. You know what I mean? It really is, like I said, just kind of like Chop was saying, that running back room is the Brock Purdy of these running backs. You know what I'm saying? It's more so system than it is the individual parts of the individual talent. And so that's a very good point. Very good point.
And I'm gonna let it be known right now. If me, you, and ZB were the 3 running backs in their running back room, I would be the lead back, and you guys will be right there behind me to spell me. And you know what I'm saying? Just want to put it out there, make that clear for everybody so they understood. You know what I'm saying? Who would be the lead back if we was a trio?
Hey, I ain't gonna lie to you. You can go ahead and soften up Fred Warner and Nick Bolton for me. Yeah, y'all go ahead. I come in on third downs. Like I said, hey, I'm good for third down duty. I take that. Yeah, y'all go ahead. Y'all go ahead and beat your head against that Chiefs offensive line and Chris Jones and Derek Knighty and them boys. Yeah, I let y'all soften them up for me.
Nah, Willie Jack, you ain't no third down back, man. You the goal line back.
Hey, y'all know I got some moves now. I'm surprised y'all now. I surprised y'all. Hey, shout out to our dog Miles, man. Miles kind of just slid in the building, man. What's going on, man? But moving on, man. Let's go ahead and get into these receiving cores. And so same as we've been doing, man. The receivers to include tight ends. So just, you know what I'm saying, pass catching cores. But yeah, go ahead and give it to me, man. Rank these in order of how you draft your team.
And this is actually gonna be the same order I just had the last the running back field. I'm still gonna stay in the NFC first, you know, and I'm going with San Francisco as my top offensive unit, the pass catching unit between Ayuk and Debo, Kittle, you know, and all those different guys. Like, I think they have the best unit. And part of the reason why a lot of those things are, like I said, very easy for Brock Purdy. So I think those guys will be my number 1, number 2, and actually closer than I would, closer than I think. And then most people would think I'm going with the Lions. The Lions with Amon-Ra St. Brown. We talked about him plenty of times in terms of you know how dynamic he is and how he's just a menace, man. You can't guard him one-on-one, and he's just been all year long. Jared Goff's number 1 target. The rookie Sam Laporta has really going strong and announced himself as one of the better tight ends in the league immediately. Shout out to Zach the Mac. He also said from the very beginning that, you know, Sam Laporta was going to lead the league in like yardage or something like that for the second half of the season. So he gave me that, and he actually did. You know, and just thinking about the other guys, the other support guys to help those 2 main guys. So Jameson Williams, even though he doesn't get the ball a ton of times a game, still having that guy that can fly and really, you know, threaten the defense over the top, that will always keep your safeties back and leave room for Amon-Ra St. Brown to operate in an intermediate area. And then after that, I'm gonna go with the Ravens. The Ravens will be that third guy, the third team. I like what they have with their weapons. Now, Mark Andrews will be back. I do like Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. I think he's going to take a little bit of time away from Likely, but I do like Mark Andrews, and I like Zay Flowers. Odell Beckham comes in, he steps up big when necessary. So I like just the plethora of weapons that they have there. And then the Chiefs, man. I think the Chiefs, they struggled a lot for most of the year. Travis Kelce is still there, of course, but other than Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice, which I mean that's pretty good. I don't think they have the ceiling in terms of the performance and what they're able to do on offense as the other three teams. So that's the order that I would go in terms of the offensive weapons. Not that the Chiefs' weapons are bad by any means. They did take some time to they did need some time to really come into their own, but I got the Chiefs as my number 4 for a ranked team.
Now, and this one for me, it starts the same. I'm also taking the Niners, like I said, especially assuming we're going to have Debo. But yeah, Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle, that three-headed monster right there, I think it's going to be tough to beat. Same thing with you with the Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Laporta kind of doing the heavy lifting there. And then the next guy in that rotation, though, for me, is going to be Josh Reynolds. I think he's the guy that kind of more so kind of fills those gaps.
He showed up big last game too. This past game too.
Exactly right. And then, I mean, we not including them necessarily directly in this exercise, but the running backs for that Lions team, they also are very integral in that passing game as well, especially with Jahmyr Gibbs as well. So he's almost a bonus in this kind of exercise as well. And then for me, man, I went back and forth on with Chiefs and Ravens. And honestly, man, I went Chiefs. I went Chiefs over Ravens. I know Mark Andrews is due to be back. I don't know what Mark Andrews we're going to get, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I know he's going to play, but I don't know. Like, I don't know just how. I know he's not going to be 100%, of course, but I don't know what level he's going to be at. You know what I'm saying? And so I looked at it more so as Zay Flowers and Isaiah Likely or Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce. And so I think the connection between Patty and Kelce is probably the best individual connection of just about all these teams. I would say just individually. Well, maybe Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown got a lot to say about that as well. But in championship time, in playoff football, I think Patty and Travis Kelce, they just set or tied the record for playoff touchdowns between a duo that Tom Brady and Gronkowski had set. They tied that record after last week's performance where Travis Kelce gets in the paint. And so I think for the playoffs, I think, like I said, man, I think this championship football is just a different level, man. So I'm taking Patty and Kelce over Lamar and Zay Flowers, I think, as the ones in that argument. But like I said, I can see the argument for both sides. If you get an 80% Mark Andrews and you still have Likely, who we've seen is able to be explosive in his own right, and then the youngster in Zay Flowers, who sometimes I feel like he's a little inconsistent, but he does have a knack for making a big splash play sometime during the course of a game. But I'm gonna lean on the championship experience of Patty and Kelce and go with them number 3.
I got you, and I'm with you, Willie Jack. I ain't mad at you about that, but every time I think about MVS, man, I don't know about that one, brother. And then just comparing besides Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce, when you go a little bit further down the road, after that,
it's slim pickings.
It's real.
It's definitely slim pickings for sure.
I think I'd rather take, you know what I'm saying, Odell and company and Bateman and those guys over the rest of those. So I think that was the thing that kind of pushed me over the edge the other way. But yeah, I don't think they're too far apart though. I get where you was coming from with that too.
No doubt. And I think ZB, man, I think this is for the receivers as well, man. So I think his list it mimics my own, man. So San Francisco, Detroit, Kansas City, and then the Ravens, man, on his receiver core as well.
Okay, for
and
sure.
Then, so yeah. And then hold on, man. Miles went too hard on Josh. Josh Reynolds is far and away a better third option than MVS, bro. No, it ain't that bad. It ain't that rough. Yeah, Josh Reynolds has had some quality. He's had some decent, you know what I'm saying, especially as a third option, he's had some decent performances. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like I ain't gonna go as far as to say he's the MVS, man. But yeah, moving on along, man. Next, O-lines, man. Offensive lines. Like how do you rank these? And this one for me got pretty interesting. I'm not gonna lie, man. But offensive lines, what you think?
Offensive lines, Give me the Lions offensive line first. I think Lions have the most well-rounded offensive line in terms of pass protection, run blocking,
That's a fact.
all of those different things. I think the Lions offensive line from left tackle to right tackle is solid. I don't think you'll find a weak spot on that offensive line. I give them the top offensive line spot. Number two, give me San Francisco. I'm gonna say NFC. Give me San Francisco offensive line. I like what they bring to the table as well. Also, having a guy like George Kittle adds to that offensive line. So just like you mentioned, some of the running backs being involved in a passing game, that adds a little bit of a bonus or extra boost to the
That's a
passing
good point.
game.
I didn't think of that.
The tight end, and when you think about, and even the fullback with Juszczyk, those guys add more to the pass protection and run blocking for this particular team. So that's part of the reason why I would go San Francisco there. For the AFC, I think this one is more so of it can be kind of a toss up. Give me the Chiefs though. I'll take the Chiefs offensive line before I go with the Ravens. I think Lamar Jackson is so good with his legs that he definitely helps his offensive line out a lot. You'll see times where he gets in trouble or he gets in spots where it's hard for him to get out, but you won't find that at many times. Pat Mahomes, a little less mobile. Now, he's very good in the pocket. Now, he can manipulate the pocket with the best of them. But at the same time, I think his offensive line just does an overall better job of protecting them. Even going back to last year in the Super Bowl, the team that led the league in sacks didn't get to Patrick Mahomes one time. And this is the type of offensive line that's able to kind of protect him, week in and week out. And he does a great job of helping this offensive line too. So give me the Chiefs at number 3, and I go Ravens at number 4. But I don't think any of these offensive lines are bad by any means.
No, and my list was similar, but I switched mine around. I had the Lions at number 1 for me as well. I think Penei Sewell's the best right tackle in the game. Taylor Decker at the left side, he's an oldie but goodie, man. He's the established veteran wherever that team, but he's playing lights out football so far, especially in this playoff run. And then Frank Ragnow is arguably the best center in the game, man. You can flip a coin with him and Jason Kelce. And then those two guards, they're so strong that those guards really are safe or covered up either which way. And they're not terrible themselves. Graham Glasgow, and I can't think of the name of the other one, but I think that unit in totality is probably the strongest for me. Next, number 2 for me is the Chiefs. I think the interior of the Chiefs from guard to guard is probably the best unit in football. So you've got Creed Humphrey. He's another guy that's right there in that mix, man. Creed Humphrey, Jason Kelce, Frank Ragnow. These are the guys, if you had a three-sided coin or three-sided dice or whatever the case, he'd be that other guy in the mix for the best center in football. Joe Tooney had an all-pro caliber year. I think he made my own personal all-pro list, as well as the NFL's AP list came out at left guard, had a very dominant year. And then on the right guard as well, Trey Smith. Trey Smith is the one where kudos to the Chiefs staff. He was coming out of Tennessee. I think he was one of those guys that was like a tackle guard, kind of they didn't necessarily know where to fit him. And I liked him, but he fell all the way to the 7th round and started from day 1 as a rookie. And he's really came on and been strong just right out the door as like a 7th round guy out of Tennessee at right guard. And so those 3 as a unit, that's probably the most stout or the strongest interior offensive line in the league. Their weak spot is the tackles. Jawan Taylor, all the penalties that we know on the right side of that line. They got the rookie Wanye Morris at left tackle. But all said, just like you said, you hit the nail on the head. For whatever reason, man, guys can't touch Patty. We don't know what guys can't touch Patty. Last week in Buffalo, they couldn't smell his breath. Last year, the line was a little changed up a little bit on the tackles, but the number 1 team in terms of pass rush, the defense line for the Eagles, Patty with a bum ankle, didn't matter. They couldn't touch him. So I think that Chiefs line has definitely established itself. Then I go Niners, of course, anchored by Trent Williams. And I didn't even include it, but just like you said, man, you get a bonus tackle in Kittle. It's, you know what I'm saying? You get a bonus tackle in Kittle, and you get Juszczyk as well, who's no slouch. You know what I'm saying? And so I like them at 3. And then last but not least, I also had Baltimore rounding out my list at 4 as well. And then ZB gave us a list also. Man, he's got Lions, San Francisco, Ravens, Chiefs. Oh, he's got Chiefs last. Okay. And so yeah, he went a little off the reservation in that one. Okay, I see what you're doing there.
Absolutely.
But yeah. But moving on now. Defenses. Defenses, man, this is gonna be an interesting one, man. We got some pretty good ones, especially in the playoffs, man. The way a lot of each of these defenses have been playing here down the stretch, man. So who are you going? Who are you taking? How you ranking these defenses?
Yeah, so defenses, man, I'm going to the AFC first. I'm going with the Ravens, man. I think the Ravens have made it clear that they are the top dogs in this league when it comes to defenses, man. Regardless of the matchup, well, except for your Los Angeles Rams, you know what I'm saying? They pretty much stopped just about everybody they came across, and 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 they have the recipe what the offenses strong suit is. You know, we saw the defensive performance against the San Francisco 49ers earlier in the season. We saw them against the Houston Texans this past week after the Houston Texans just torched the Cleveland Browns, one of the better defenses in the league, and they didn't allow an offensive touchdown at all this entire game. So this Ravens defense has all the pieces in place to get this thing together. So I definitely got to go with the Ravens defense. I'm going with the Chiefs. The Chiefs defense is my number two, man. And um I was thinking about the San Francisco 49ers, but the Chiefs defense, man, has been solid all year long and has been the anchor of this team, you know, for this entire year. And even going back to this game, even though they gave up 24 points, they only gave up 7 points in the second half, and they completely bottled up, you know, Josh Allen in this game, you know, and held this team to 0 points in the fourth quarter and held on to this W. You know, so that was a big performance for them. And with Chris Jones and L'Jarius Sneed and McDuffie and all those guys really coming up and showing up to play this year, you know, this Chiefs defense has really stepped up. Of course, I'll go San Francisco next. San Francisco defense, they've been solid as always. I think they took the small step back from last year. This run defense isn't as strong as it was in the past. That I think is the one weak area of this team. But they're still a strong defense, to say the least. And then you got the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are I don't think anybody will argue are the weakest defense in the playoffs right now. The run defense is solid, but pass defense, they can't stop anybody. So I think, you know, that could eventually lead to trouble for this team. So yeah, that's my order for that.
No, and I think I had the same order as you. Ravens established themselves as the number one defense this season. The Chiefs, I think, were the clear two for me. That Chiefs team, and we've said it, we talked about it. I know just all this year, this was a defensive led football team, and so that defense has been borderline dominant for the bulk of this year, especially carrying 12 weeks of very poor offensive football and production that we saw from the Chiefs. You know what I mean? And so I think that goes without saying. And then I finished up the list the same. Niners, who they make a splash move with Chase Young. They make a splash signing in the offseason with Javon Hargrave. Javon Hargrave. You still got Eric Armstead there, but it still feels like they're not necessarily getting the production from that defensive line that we would expect with so much talent there. They bring over Randy Gregory midseason as well from the Broncos. And so they're still trying to find somebody to kind of pair and balance out Nick Bosa and what they had there. They still have, of course, Fred Warner. They lost your dog, Tally, who found it, you know what I'm saying? But they've got all pro in that secondary still, and Tre'Davious Ward, who, funny enough, went to the Niners in free agency after a stint with Kansas City. And so now Kansas City has Trent Duffy, who's an all-pro, L'Jarius Sneed, who got completely snubbed in the Pro Bowl and all-pro voting. And then, of course, Tre'Davious Ward, who also came from that Chiefs secondary. And so if Kansas City could have found a way to make all that work, imagine if all three of those guys were still in that secondary for Kansas City, which may have been a possibility. So that could have been crazy.
That'd have been trouble, boy.
Exactly. And then last but not least, just like you said, man, I got the Lions rounding it out. That pass defense is just atrocious, man. If Aiden Hutchinson and that front's not getting home or making life difficult on the quarterback, man, you can just about get what you want in that back end. And so I will
say this though. Having CJ Gardner-Johnson back, it makes a big difference for that defense.
It does.
He's already stirring the pot up now for this coming weekend, and I can't wait to see it, man. Him and Debo going back and forth.
Yeah.
He's gonna let Debo know, hey man, you got a different ball game coming to see him this week. So hey, I'm gonna be looking forward to seeing that matchup for sure.
No doubt, man. He's one of those guys, man. He's one of those guys that, just like you said, man, likes to stir the pot. He's going to chirp at you a little bit. He got the interception off Baker last week, then threw the ball in Baker's lap. You know what I'm saying? Like they was on the sideline, and then they had a little spat back and forth online about it or whatnot. But yeah, he's definitely one of those guys that he's gonna get under your skin, and he's gonna make plays, man. One thing you can say about him, his time with Philly before going to Detroit, led the league in interceptions for a good chunk of the season. He missed like 6 games. You know what I'm saying? And still was amongst the league leaders in interceptions. And so he's a guy that when he's on the field, he produces. And then our dog Zach the Mac, man, ZB, he dropped the list for us, and it looks like I think his list is the same as ours as well. Yeah, same order.
Yep.
Ravens, Chiefs, Niners, Lions as well. So, and then rounding it out, man, we'll finish it on now before we get to the break. But coaching staffs, can't forget the coaching staffs, the guys at the top who get it all going, man, who lead these teams and collect these teams and put it all together so everybody can cook, man. How you going with the coaching staffs?
Yeah, man. I don't think it would be right for me to go any other direction than to go with Andy Reid. Andy Reid is the best coach, I think, of these guys in the playoffs. My next guy, I think I'm gonna go ahead and go with John Harbaugh, man. I'm going with John Harbaugh, and to me, John Harbaugh has a lot of playoff experience. He has the Super Bowls, and he shows that he has the ability to coach against some of the best. You know, Shanahan is one of the best offensive minds in the league, and we saw what he was able to do to that Shanahan offense, which is part of the reason why I got him above Shanahan in this playoff ranking. So after I seen it, it was like, okay, it only makes sense to go John Harbaugh as my second coach in this of the guys that are the left. My third coach, I will go with Shanahan. I think Shanahan is still one of the best, one of the best offensive minds in the league and head coaches. The way he orchestrated this team and the way they operate on offense, you know, and continue to move forward regardless. You know, if certain players are in, certain players are out, man, it's just outstanding. And he's shown to be very, very good at that. And then Dan Campbell. Now, this is no shot at Dan Campbell at all, because Dan Campbell is a very good coach. But I think he definitely has an opportunity to maybe even surpass, you know, one of these guys or so, depending on how he's able to help his team perform. He's shown that he's really, really good. And maybe it may take a few years, but I still think Dan Campbell, you know, has more room to grow. And like it or love it, he's in the mix. He's one of the last 4 coaches standing. You know what I'm saying? So you got to give him his props, and he's done a really tremendous job with this team, man. So got to give, of course, Dan Campbell is my 4th spot rounding out this list.
No, and so my list is a little different. I've got Kansas City at number 1, Andy Reid, for sure. I think just the track record of success, even before Kansas City, we forget they couldn't quite get to the mountaintop, but for a number of years he kept that Philadelphia Eagles team in championship title style contention for sure. They went to 4 or 5 straight NFC championship games. They finally make it to the Super Bowl that year with T.O. plays with a broke leg and still goes crazy before they lose to the Patriots. Excuse me. And then, of course, we know what he's done in his time in Kansas City. So I think that goes without saying. Number 2 for me was pretty clear cut. I'm going Kyle Shanahan. I guess I get what you're saying as far as Harbaugh has the Super Bowl championship, but Harbaugh for me, this is the thing about Harbaugh. Because I think Harbaugh gets a lot of passes that I think I hate to say it. I'm trying not to just be hating on the Ravens because forget the Purple Birds. But Harbaugh for me is he's a very good coach. He's also a little overrated for my money. I think he really is. I don't forget about all the bad situational football calls and plays and time management and all the boneheaded. He's got a little Brandon Staley in him. Remember just last year. Some of those games that they lost, just poor decision making, just being ultra aggressive. You know what I'm saying? And just putting the team, taking wins off the team's board. He came from a special teams background. He's definitely more so that kind of I'm the CEO, just kind of overseeing the thing, because he doesn't have a specialty in offense specifically or in defense. You know what I'm saying? So he's definitely just kind of more so just kind of managing the ship, trying to get the right guys in the right position. And that's nothing to snark at, you know what I'm saying? Because that is a skill as well. That's very valuable. But just on his own, I don't want John Harbaugh over Shanahan, who is an actual master of a craft. You know what I'm saying? I just one for one, I think Kyle Shanahan, like I said, if Andy Reid wasn't still coaching this league, I think he'd be the clear cut. I think the greatest offensive mind in football. And we forget like the whole coaching wave of guys that are so super popular now. So everybody's talking about Sean McVay's tree. Well, we forget Sean McVay came off of Kyle Shanahan's tree. So he's the root of all these waves of guys that the league loves now. We're seeing Zach Robinson, who hasn't called a play, get in his career. He's getting offensive coordinator interviews with my Steelers from being attached to Sean McVay. We've seen Zach Taylor in Cincinnati. We see Mike McDonald in Miami. We see Matt LaFleur. Like all these guys come from Kyle Shanahan, and so I think Kyle Shanahan is number 2 for me. 3 and 4 for me was close because I think that there are a lot more similarities between Dan Campbell and John Harbaugh than there are for Kansas City. I think Kansas City and like Reed and Shanahan are very similar because they're both offensive masterminds. They sculpt and craft the scheme and the system that builds the success like for that team. Whereas Harbaugh and Campbell, they're motivators. You know what I mean? Like, and when I really think about it, like I don't know if any coach has his finger on the pulse of his team and on his locker room better than Dan Campbell. Like I don't know if there's a guy more in tune with the players in his locker room, with the city, that the team, you know what I'm saying? Like than Dan Campbell, but he's the last one in, so he's gonna be the first one out. Like I say, he just doesn't necessarily have the years of service. You know what I'm saying? Harbaugh has been there. He has actually got to the mountaintop. He did win that Super Bowl. And so I do give it to Harbaugh number 3, but then I'm going Dan Campbell 4. But Harbaugh and Campbell for me, man, I don't think there's a huge gap there at all.
I got you. And I don't know, Willie Jack. I don't know about that, man. And the reason why I say is because if we're gonna ding Harbaugh for some of his, we got to ding Shanahan for it too. Because in some of those games, Harbaugh has shown that he can duke it out with some of the best coaches in the league. You know what I'm saying? He can duke it out with them when it comes to those big time games, you know, and you got to show big or go home. Whereas with Shanahan, he has a little bit of history of showing when it comes to the big time, and you got to deal with a big time defensive coordinator that's gonna come together with a great scheme. He don't have the best track record. You know what I'm saying? So I understand where you're coming with it, Willie Jack, and I don't 100% disagree with it because you know what I'm saying. Shanahan is one of the best in the business. I think we both had him in our top 5 in terms of coaches on the season. But just in terms of right now, I feel like I would have to go. I had to go with Harbaugh.
I can see why.
I'm not discrediting your decision because I don't feel like you were wrong for picking Shanahan for number 2. I just don't think it's that far apart in terms of that. And if we're gonna ding John, we got to ding Shanahan for some of that stuff too. You know what I'm saying?
No, and that's a fair point. And then, hold on, ZB had a good comment as well, man, and I think actually does make sense what we're talking about. If we say that Purdy's a system quarterback, well, whose system is it? And that's a very good point. As successful as Purdy's been, Mr. Irrelevant, 7th round kid out of Iowa State, the very last pick in this system, who, like it or love it, hate it or otherwise, he has some MVP buzz. And we've said this, no, you've said this from the very beginning. Well-oiled machine. Like, Niners are going Niner because Kyle Shanahan has that machine going. So it speaks to the individual prowess and ability of Kyle Shanahan as a coach. Like, I don't know how successful, like, Harbaugh's had some big wins for sure. He's been to the mountaintop. He's won the championship. He's had some big wins, but I always feel like the players, it's a delicate balance between player and coach. The players have to make the plays on the field. But yeah. I've never felt like Harbaugh out schemed anybody. Lamar went superhuman and took over a game. You know what I'm saying? Or that defense is just dominant. A defense that he inherited. That Ravens defense has been dominant for 20 years, no matter who's been in that building.
But see, I think that gets more into like the style of coaching, though, rather than the overall. It's like Harbaugh's style is hard to quantify. It's hard to put into numbers. Like Shanahan's style, you can actually see. Like you can see his style of coaching because you see it in his offense. He has his hands on their offense. So like we're talking about 2 different styles of coaches, but yeah. I don't think and if that's your preference, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing wrong with that. But I think that's where we're getting more into versus all right, who do we think is just the overall just better coach? Like we're
Check
talking
this
about
out.
one is just an offensive coordinator. Essentially, well, not he's not just. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that.
No, I get it.
One is has his imprint on the offense. Everything with the offense, he is the one behind that. He's the offensive mastermind. You know, same with Andy Reid. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the other two who are not necessarily have their hand on a particular part. You know, same with Pete Carroll. You want to throw him in there too. These are guys that they have a different impact on their team, which to me is equally as valuable. You know, especially when it comes to that time and you get these wins. You know
No,
what I'm saying?
and you make a good point. And I'm gonna ask you a question here, but also let's not forget Pete Carroll. He's closer to Reed, and he's got the charisma of Harbaugh and Campbell, but he's a defensive guy. He brought in that press bell cover 3 and changed football. For like 10 years, everybody wanted to run Pete Carroll's defense. So he still has something that he's directly responsible for. And then now here's a question I'd want to ask you, right?
Okay.
John Harbaugh with the Ravens. He is a good coach.
Yeah.
I don't mean to sound, I know it sounds like I'm going harder on him than I probably intend to, but
Okay.
I feel like if I substituted Mike Vrabel for John Harbaugh and I still got all those pieces still on that team, we still in AFC Championship this week. Can I say that if I put Harbaugh or Vrabel or like, I don't think we can swap out necessarily Harbaugh or a guy like Harbaugh, Vrabel, or Dan Campbell even for like Kansas City or for San Francisco. Like, I don't think they can necessarily go and have the same success or be here this same weekend on those style teams because like they don't like I don't see the competitive edge that he brings individually of himself to a team. But I do think I could find a guy to I can find a. I think it's easier for me to find a guy that could bring to the table what Harbaugh does than it is for me to find a guy that brings to the table what a guy like Shanahan does. And I guess
I,
and I think that's where I'm at with it. But
yeah, I got you.
I'm sorry. Go ahead and answer. And but before you answer, ZB had a interesting list. He went completely off the reservation.
Absolutely.
Shanahan, Harbaugh, Reed, Campbell. ZB, talk to me in the chat. How's Reed 3?
Well, he gave his explanation. He gave an explanation.
Okay, man, I didn't see it. Okay.
Yeah, he said Reed is number 3 for him because he has so many plays where he outthinks himself. He said that Hardman call that he fumbled is not the first time he's called a play like that. McNabb and Pat cover a lot of mistakes, and I agree. I can agree with this.
Wait a minute. Let's not forget the play for me. Cole Hardeman should have been a touchdown. So
it should have been.
Andy Reid calls a touchdown play, and we're gonna penalize him because Nicole Hardeman's a bum. He put a guy in position to score, to put a nail in the coffin. Like, I don't think the fumble's on Reid. Reid made a terrific call.
But I think the point that he's making, Willie Jack, and me, you both have said this before, is you don't want to go out if they end up losing this game. At the end of the day, you're gonna be looking at yourself. You don't want to go out giving it to a guy that's not your guy, not putting it in the hands of your guy. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the point that he's more so making. Is like you're not riding your dogs out. You know what I'm saying? You like who I forgot who was a team where they lost the game. The Colts. They threw a swing pass to their
third string running back. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. You don't want you. That's not the guy you want to go out or losing this game on. You want to go out because that was a very crucial moment. We'll get to that game in a minute, but I think that's more so his point in saying that, not necessarily that the fact that it was going to be successful. But I've seen it from Andy Reid though. I'm not saying that I agree with him in third. Andy Reid's my number 1, but I've seen it. I'm not going to sit up and say I haven't seen it from Andy Reid for sure.
Man, what about the who was number 1? He had Shanahan number 1. Man, I'm telling you, man, we really gloss over a lot of these like loser years that Harbaugh's had, bro. We gloss over a lot of these like. Well, I don't know, man. I feel like we give Harbs. I think Harbs gets a little bit of a pass on some of these down years that we don't really talk about enough.
I mean, to be quite honest, all these coaches get passes for certain things. Like all of them do. You know what I'm saying? But some of them are just continuing to be more successful than others. Harbaugh's had some stuff that he get passes on. Shanahan does too. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Like there's no way as an offensive genius you let your team get done the way you get done, primetime football. I mean, everybody got them, dog.
All right, now let me tell you what team you built right before we go to break. I know we right at that time to go to break.
That's cool.
So,
That's
but
cool.
I kept track of it. So this is who you built.
Okay.
Your quarterback is Patrick Mahomes.
Facts.
Your running back is C-Mac.
Okay.
Your receiving core, tight ends and receivers is the 49ers. So right now you got Patty, C-Mac, Debo, Ayuk, Kittle.
That sounds like 50 points a game right there. That sounds like 50 points a game.
It really do. Your offensive line is the Lions. That sounds like C-Mac going for 3,000 yards a season. With that Lions offensive line and Patty throwing the ball out the backfield, he's already good for 1,000. He had Cam Newton throwing the ball, he got 1,000 yards. Now he's got Patty. Then your defense is the Ravens, and then your head coach is Andy Reid.
Oh yeah, we straight. You ain't
and honestly, me and you, we had the same number ones. Our differences came in like the 2, 3, 4 areas, but yeah, we had the same number one unit, and so yeah, we've got the same unit as far as what made up the ones going across the board. So
it sounds like you got a Super Bowl too, bro. It sounds like you want to be on the Super Bowl.
You
know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you so right. So yeah, that's nasty. Yeah, that's nasty.
Absolutely.
But, man, that was fun, man. Yeah,
absolutely, man. Willie, I like the segments, man. I like the segments you be coming up with, man. You got some. Hey, boy, you be thinking sometimes, boy.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I like to do what I could do when I could do it. You know what I
mean? Right, man. Well, hey, look, man. We appreciate y'all for tapping in with us. We're about to take a quick break, real quick. I want y'all to stay right there because we got to wrap up this show with the games from the divisional round, man. So we'll be right back. Y'all stay tuned.
Let's do it.
Episode of Let the Film Speak, hosted by the wonderfully handsome and intelligent brothers of Let the Film Speak. That's Chop and your main man, Willie Jack. You feel me? Also brought to you by the Three Amigos. Y'all know them and you love them, man. That's the Three Amigos. That's like, that's share, that's subscribe, that's three the hard way, that's the 3-piece spicy. You cannot go wrong. Now, I say the same thing every week, so y'all can say it at home with me. I know y'all ready for it. Here we go. It's Three Amigos, but it's 4 parts to this process, big dog. First, you just got tapped in. Like my dog said, man, come in, tap in. Just say what's up, man. Just holler. Hey, what's up, Three Amigos, man? Like, share, subscribe. Hey, Chop, man. Willie, man, what's going on, man? It's cool. I sit on the couch. For sure. Y'all got something cold to drink? Oh, man, my man. Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, man, I'm a Broncos fan. That's all you got to do. That's it. That's easy. And Chop, come in, sit down, get comfortable, get a cool adult beverage, and let us know who you ride with, big dog. Then tell a friend. Like, man, that's a nice feeling here, ain't it? Man, it's cool, man. My homeboy was out. He was down. Man, it's cool. I can tell a friend. Tell a friend, man. And you know what? Even better than that, you can tell your friend to tell a friend. Guess what? There's more. You can tell your friend to bring his partner to. Bring one more because we need 4, man. Bring them up into the penthouse. Tapping with your dogs, man. Wednesdays at 7 o'clock. You know we don't wear no watches. We ain't got nowhere else to be but in here kicking football flavor with the fam. And now back to the regularly scheduled program.
All right, man. We back. Oh man, am I froze? What's going on?
Yeah, you are froze.
Yeah, the boy done froze on me, man. I didn't. Hey, man,
it was going good all day. Now Chop won't start tripping.
Chop want to start tripping, man. I don't know what's going on. Chop want to start tripping. Now we want to get into the games, man. I'm about. Hey,
okay, there we go.
I'm right here, man. I ain't going nowhere for y'all. Y'all thought y'all was gonna get me out of here that easy? Nope. I'm here, baby. I'm here all night. But yeah, man. So of course, appreciate y'all for sticking in with us for the first half of the show. Now we got to get to these games, man. And of course, we have 4 divisional round games. We already touched on 2 of those games on our Sunday morning show, Chopping Willie in the morning. So now we just got to finish out these last 2, Willie Jack. The 2 games that happened on Sunday, and then we'll wrap it up with who was our actual performers of the week, give a game ball out. Y'all know how we end the show, man. Y'all know how we get down. But yeah, let's jump into the first game from Sunday, Willie Jack. We had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going to Detroit to take on the Lions. Lions win this game at home, 31-23 to advance to the NFC Championship game. Willie Jack, what happened in this game, big dog?
Yeah, man, it was honestly this game kind of played out more or less kind of how I imagined it would. I think it was a little closer in the beginning, a little bit of a slower start to start, but on Sunday when we talked about this game, one of the things I said is I think there's going to be a point in this game. I thought it was going to come a little sooner, but where the Lions are going to go up by a good score or 2 to get like a 10-point lead, and they're going to kind of be able to salt it away and just make the Bucs play catch up. for the duration, and then just like the Bucks just not be able to kind of catch up. And I think it started a little closer, and I think it was. I'm trying to think right here. I want to say maybe it was that third quarter where I think the Lions get a score. They get another score. The Bucks don't, and so now we see that separation. And then, like
Now they ended the third quarter tied. So after the third quarter, the score was tied 17 up.
okay.
And then in the fourth quarter, that was when Detroit
Okay, there we
spread it
go.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. So we get two scores by Detroit in the fourth, and then like I said, and then the Bucks are kind of playing catch up. They do end up getting one more to kind of close the gap,
Yep.
but essentially it's a little too late type of situation when it happens. My prediction for this game, as far as Jared Goff, I was almost on the money. I said it wasn't gonna be a huge day, but I was thinking around 250 passing yards. He ends up having 287. I thought he'd have 3 touchdowns, but he has 2. And so I wasn't too far off there. You got a very productive day from Jahmyr Gibbs. He only touches the ball 13 times in this game. He goes over 100 yards and has a touchdown. He has 9 for 74 and a touchdown on the ground, 4 for 40 receiving. So you get a very productive day there. Amon-Ra St. Brown has not a dominant day, so to say, but still very productive. Like I said, they were able to kind of just do just enough, like I thought they would, to just kind of let the cream rise to the top in this game. I just thought they were just a better team, clearly, and then all they had to do was just kind of show up and just handle their business. Amon-Ra St. Brown goes 8 for 77 and a touchdown. Speaking of, like I said, on the other side of that, I was curious to see how Aiden Hutchinson looked. I'd like to say he's been on an absolute tear as far as a pass rusher. That defense as a whole, they end up getting 4 sacks. I think Aiden Hutchinson has one of those 4. They also get 2 interceptions in this game as well. Now, one of these interceptions, and it can't be understated. So, now, I guess getting to the other side, Baker, end of a phenomenal year. I still can't wait to see. I definitely expect him to be back. I can't wait to see kind of how the contract folds out or whatever the case. But 26 for 41, 349, 3 touchdowns, those 2 interceptions. Now, one of those interceptions was flat out on Mike Evans. Ball hits him in the hands, gets tipped in the air, and that one gets intercepted. And then now that second one, I think Baker's pressing a little bit, tries to fit the ball in there, and then we get an interception there as well. But this is at the point where, I mean, it's time to try to force and make something happen. But on the day itself, Mike Evans, and what's possibly Mike Evans' last day as a Buccaneer, like I said, because they didn't extend him. It was a story about whether or not he was going to get re-signed or extended before this season. They didn't do that. And so all the indications are it's expected that Mike Evans is going to finally hit free agency. Now, he is 10 years into his career, but still very productive. He had 8 for 147 and 1 touchdown in this one. Like I said, did give up an interception off his hands, but had his 10th straight 1,000-yard season to start his career. And so there's a lot of teams that I think are definitely going to be interested in his services, especially with him being a little older. Those teams ready to make championship runs, the easy or obvious answers, a team like the Chiefs or something like that is just desperate for somebody that could consistently get up the field and kind of open things up. That's right in Mike Evans' wheelhouse. But like I said, all told, this game, like I said, played out more or less how I thought it would. And then, of course, man, kudos to those Lions, man, for getting it done. One step away from the Super Bowl, and now they are going to go on the road against San Francisco, a San Francisco team that still hasn't quite recaptured the magic that they had prior to that Ravens game, in all sincerity. And so they started out on fire. They had a cold streak there right in the middle. They got injured. They got banged up. They had a little cold stretch. Then they get their bye week. They come back out on fire. Then that kind of Ravens game knocked them off balance again. And they still haven't quite looked like themselves. We see them stumble through and kind of get bailed out by the inexperience and youth of a Green Bay Packers team that, by all accounts, probably should have won that game. But all told, coulda, shoulda, woulda. If it was a fifth and all that good stuff, we know what's going on. But this is going to be a very interesting matchup to see the Lions, to see if they can maintain their own momentum and that magic now going on the road for the first time in these playoffs. And we'll see how they do now when they go to San Francisco.
Got you. And I'm with you there, Willie Jack. And I think the Lions have more of a chance than a lot of people are giving them credit for in the NFC Championship game when they go see the San Francisco 49ers. So I think it's going to be more of a game than people feel. And I think the strengths, the real strengths of the San Francisco offense I think kind of plays a little bit into what the Detroit Lions are better at on the defensive side of the ball. So I think that's going to be interesting to see. We'll get more into that when we talk about the games this upcoming Sunday on Chop Willie in the morning, Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Central Time. So tune in. But we'll jump a little bit more into that. But it's crazy you mentioned the Mike Evans drop pass, because Mike Evans had a really, really good game. He had a very strong game, 8 catches for 147, a good way to go out. And like you said, it could be his last one. But for me, with the Tampa Bay Bucks, and I just start with them, I think they lacked a little bit of balance. And coming into this game, I said that I felt that this game was going to be squarely on the shoulders of Baker Mayfield. I think he was going to have a really good game in which he struggled a little bit, throwing 2 interceptions. Now, of course, one of them we just talked about, but he didn't have as crisp of. And I think part of the reason why is because they didn't commit to the run as much as I felt like they should have. They only rushed the ball a total of 15 times, 2 of those by Baker Mayfield. So 13 rushes throughout this game between the 2 running backs, and Rashad White and Chase Edmonds. And Rashad White was running the ball pretty consistently in this game. So I feel like they could have had a little bit more balance in terms of the way that they were able to run the ball and attack this Detroit Lions defense, who was known for kind of giving up a few different things, just so that they wasn't just relying on one particular aspect. So I feel like they could have did that. And then on defense, I felt like they were solid, but they couldn't quite get off of the field. Jared Goff and his connection with Samuel Porter and Amon-Ra St. Brown were able to connect on a lot of key situations, third downs, to keep the chains moving. And then the combination of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, it was just hard for the Buccaneers to stop the Detroit Lions, because there were so many different ways that they were attacking them, whether it would be in the air or their running backs out of the backfield or running the ball. Like the explosiveness of Jahmyr Gibbs and just what he showed is the exact reason why they drafted him. Okay, the exact reason why they drafted him, and it shows that they may have made the right decision going away from DeAndre Swift and going with Jahmyr Gibbs. One, because of the injury history of DeAndre Swift and him being nicked up a lot. But Jahmyr Gibbs, he brings a different type of explosiveness. I think he's a little bit more explosive than DeAndre Swift and what he's able to bring to the table. And he actually showed that a lot in this game and made it that much more difficult for the Tampa Bay Bucks to stop them on defense. And it was just they just won this game in a few different ways. They got out the Baker Mayfield as well. So all around, I think this was a very solid performance for this Detroit Lions team. Of course, they'll need to shore up some things on defense, with this explosive San Francisco 49ers team that they're going to have to play against next week, or they have to go to San Francisco to play. But overall, man, just a better team won this game. They took care of business, and they move on to the NFC Championship, man. And I gotta give them kudos too, just off the strength that it's been so long since they, one, been to the playoffs, then 2, won the division, and then 3, won a playoff game, man. It's been a long time since the Detroit Lions have experienced any type of success, related to that. So just got to give them that credit, man. Every step forward is huge for them at this point.
No, and then real quick, man, one of the members that fell in the building, man, of course, our dog, man, Terrible Time Walker. First thing he say, man, takes it to the Super Bowl 2025. So, hey, appreciate you making it, my boy. We tell you every weekend, man. It's just like church. You ain't got to get here on time. Just get in and get some of the gospel, man. So we appreciate you stopping through. And then ZB makes a good point here, man. There was a chance early in this game. Jamal Dean drops an interception in the end zone. Now, the Detroit does end up kicking a 3. They only get the 3 there. They don't punch it in. I think it was the third down play. But no, right out the gate, man, they have a chance to make a very big splash play. Momentum on the road. You're already playing the superior team. So if he comes down with that, now they bring the ball out to the 20 and have a chance to maybe they drive and build off that momentum. And now maybe they make Detroit chase them out the gate if he comes down with that interception. So that was that definitely was just one of those things where it could have changed just the early trajectory of that game for sure. He's got some more good comments, man. He said Tampa Bay, you got to be they've got to be happy or proud of what they did. Pick to finish probably 3rd in that division, and instead you end up winning the division. You win a playoff game, and so Yeah, so now good comments there from my dog ZB. And then in talking about Mike Evans possibly being on the outs with Tampa Bay, ZB also said, I guess Evans came out after the game and said he wants to finish with as a Buck. He does like playing with Baker, so he thinks there's a 90% chance he's coming back. And yes, it all sounds good until it's time for them to sign it, until it's time to see somebody cash the check. You know what I mean? Because that deal could have, should have been done probably last year as a Ring of Honor guy. Mike Evans is going to be an all-time Buck. You know what I mean? And so we'll see how that shapes up. We'll see how Baker's money in his new contract plays a role in this as well, because I don't know their cap situation per se, but like I said, man, I'm just curious to see how that works out. And then of course, man, our dog, Terrible Tommy said, if it don't work out, Mike Evans to the Texans, he'll take him for sure. But yeah, so now good comments, man. Appreciate the members in the building.
Absolutely. All right, Willie Jack, let's move on to the next game. The Kansas City Chiefs, they go to Buffalo, take on the Bills. They win this game on the road 27-24. Whew, this one I ain't gonna even lie, Willie Jack. This one I was kind of disappointed in. Okay, I was disappointed in, not in the game in general, but just I just heard so much coming after this game and forward. I mean, it was just like, golly. But this is also, and again, I said this earlier in the show when we were ranking the QBs and stuff like that. This is why the regular season does not matter. The regular season does not matter because Pat Mahomes came in this game and he played very detailed and a precise football game. Okay. And that's what the Chiefs did. Every throw was the right throw. Every play was the right play. Every read was the right read. When he needed to scramble, that was the right play. Like, that was the type of game that Mahomes played. And a lot of times those games don't lead to a lot of yards, to a lot of points. It leads to wins, and that's what the Chiefs were able to do. The run game was key, as we both mentioned. And I think you kind of gave an over and under, Willie Jack, before we got into the game in terms of Pacheco.
Don't give away the sauce. Don't give away the sauce. Don't give away the sauce.
My fault. I ain't gonna give away the sauce. My bad. But either way, the run game was very key for the Chiefs in this particular game, rushing for over 146 yards. And quite honestly, and we talked about this play too in the chat with Zach the Mac, they were in very good position to really close this game out, if not for that fumble by McCole Hardman on the goal line, which fumbled and went into the end zone and turned into a touchback. And I was just like, wow, like out of all things that could happen at this moment, Chiefs up 27-24, they fumble right here. They could go up 10 points right now in the fourth quarter, and really, with the way that their defense was playing and the way that their offense was moving the ball, that game could have been it right then and there. But instead, it turns into that fumble. Bills get a chance, and the Bills fumbled in the second half. They fumbled the opportunity that they have in a couple different ways. One, you see the Stephon Diggs long drop, which he should have caught. And then you see a couple of misplays by Josh Allen, on that last drive, with the one in particular that everybody's kind of speaking of. And I think people are going a little bit too hard on Josh Allen in terms of the way that he played in this game and that particular play. Like, of course, you had Stephon Diggs going across the middle, short, could have had the first down, and he went for the touchdown instead. Now, I don't want anybody to sit up here and act like that was a super terrible decision because the play didn't land, because he was wide open for a touchdown. And 9 times out of 10, Josh Allen makes that throw. Just so happens Chris Jones is beating the sleeves off of that offensive lineman, knocks him into him, and then you see where the pass lands, and now everybody is, oh, man, this and that. And let me clear this up too, Willie Jack. I'm going to clear this up for you before you have to come in and rescue your stepson. I don't want – let's stop the Josh Allen and Dak Prescott comparisons. Let's stop the Josh Allen and Justin Herbert comparisons. Now, even though I feel like Justin Herbert has the ability, he has not had the success that Josh Allen has had in this league. So let's stop there for right now. You know what I'm saying? Until we actually see something worth it. It's not the same. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. But going back to the first half, the Buffalo Bills played a tremendous first half. Some of the throws that he did make, some of the plays that he just made, just the anticipation, the instincts that he was playing with, it looked like the Bills were well in control and were on the way to really, coming away and defeating Patrick Mahomes. Didn't necessarily work out that way. And part of the reason, the Chiefs stood up. They stood up in the second half. They turned it on, locked in on the Buffalo Bills offense and Josh Allen, and they didn't allow. They only allowed 7 points in the second half. And that's part of the reason why I had that Chiefs defense as the number 2 defense ranked of the guys that are left in the playoffs, is because they hit another level. And while they were slowing the Bills down, they were still moving the ball against the Bills, man. So got to give them their credit there, man. They had a tremendous game there. They showed up, showed out, and they came away with the W. Okay, here a couple interesting things though. In that second half, when I say the Chiefs defense turned up, the crazy part is the Buffalo Bills they had the ball almost I think 37 minutes to 22 minutes in terms of time of possession of this entire game. And a big reason for that is their first touchdown drive lasted 8 minutes for the Bills in the third quarter. Okay. That was it. The next position they have was a turnover on downs. The next one was a 3 and out. And then that very last possession was a 6-minute drive in which they went and tried to run the clock out, score, and be done with it. But it ended up being the missed field goal, a 44-yard field goal, in which the kicker should have made, you know what I'm saying? So not taking any pressure off of him. But this was just an overall team loss. Nobody played a flawless game, and it was an accumulation of mistakes that cost them this game. But yeah, man, Chiefs find a way again. The championship caliber team, they get the job done on the road.
No, and for me, I think I see the game a little different, because I don't necessarily feel that the Bills were in control of the first half. Like, everything was so much easier for the Chiefs. I think, like, the Chiefs, the time of possession, normally that's indicative of the other team controlling the pace of play. The Chiefs are just marching up and down the field, scoring touchdowns or scoring points or touchdowns. Like, I don't think the Chiefs punted until it was the second half. I don't know if they had their first punt in like the fourth quarter, but they really were just getting everything they wanted, just offensively. And that first Chiefs touchdown, the touchdown to Kelsey in the back left side of the end zone, it's a coverage bust. And like, I'm watching that play unfold, like, while it was live, one of the safeties, he's jumping up and down going crazy because Kelsey goes in motion from the right all the way across to the left, and then they snap it, and and then he runs like a flag route, and he gets a touchdown. So the safety, I don't know if I'm just gonna say it's Micah Hyde, Hyde or Poyer, I don't know which one. He's jumping up and down going crazy, trying to get somebody's attention because nobody goes with Kelsey, and it's a coverage. He's butt naked. You know what I'm saying? He runs a 27-yard flag route, butt naked in the end zone. Patty, puts on the money, and then we get a touchdown here, and so it's a blown coverage, and that speaks to kind of the attrition that we saw this Buffalo team over these last few weeks. They were completely decimated on defense as far as like starters and players out, especially in the second level, like the linebacking core, the corners. They did have Poyer and Hyde, but they were missing some critical bodies there. And Kansas City, to their credit, they came out and took advantage. This game, I think, the first half, like I said, the Bills and Buffalo, they have that long drive. They end up getting a touchdown, but it felt like Buffalo and Big Josh and the Bills, like, man, they had to grind it out. That Chiefs defense made everything a challenge for that Bills offense, whereas the Chiefs on the other side, man, they didn't flat out just boat race. I'm not saying that, but they were just able to just consistently move the ball down the field and cash in. You know what I'm saying? Whereas the Bills, like the Chiefs defense, and it's a kudos and credit to them, but man, that Bills offense had to fight, scrap, and earn every inch and every blade of grass to get that success. And then especially in the second half, and this is where I think we need to give Andy Reid some credit, because the Chiefs definitely took it up another notch coming out that second half. That second half, it really feels like Andy Reid flat out outdueled Sean McDermott in the second half of that game. And I think it starts to show where Sean McDermott gets a little desperate. They go for the fake punt. I hated that call. They go for the fake punt on your own 30. Of course, it fails, and then you get bailed out by the Mecole Hardman fumble that goes through the end zone. And then, like I say, you drive down the field and have a chance to put one in the end zone or at least tie the ball game. And then this game for me, man, missed opportunities. There was like let's say Josh finished this game 26 for 39, 186 yards, 1 touchdown in the air, 12 for 72, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Shout out to my dog Chop, because he said Josh Allen was going to have a 3 touchdown day. I think he thought it was going to be, you would call 2 passes, 1 rushing. It was just the other way around, 2 rushing, 1 passing. But I mean, you hit that on the money as far as the production and the breakdown of it.
Right.
Also, I think James Cook was able to have success running the ball early, and that's another thing that got shut down in that second half as well. And so in the second half, those running lanes really kind of clogged up, and it fell back on Josh to kind of use his legs, and he was successful in doing that at greater points. But they left. What's ironic about this game is the Chiefs, for all the problems and all the issues they had all year with their receivers just shitting the bed, dropping passes, not coming up in clutch plays, they switched places. MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, had 2 30-yard catches in this one. And one of them, he was smothered pretty good. Rasul Douglas was playing low hip. They had, and Patty, of course, drops a perfect pass right there in between Rasul Douglas and, let's say, Poyer. I'm not sure which one it was. But, I mean, you can't throw a better ball. And MVS comes down with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he had 2 30-yard catches in this one. And then we get a guy like Stephon Diggs, who is probably looking more and more like this was his last game in Buffalo. But his game just really took a massive step backward the whole second half of this year. I mean, just and so we had talked about it as well on the show. Like, in my mind, like when we were talking about the Bills, okay, they're finding ways to win. They had to crawl back from where they were to the hole they put themselves in the beginning of the year, win a lot of games to get to the playoffs. And Stephon Diggs had never really been a big part of it. So we kept talking about, okay, but hey, they've got to be due. You know what I'm saying? Like they've got to be due. And those opportunities, some of these opportunities were there. Josh Allen probably made one of the greatest incompletions we ever seen. That ball he threw to Stephon Diggs in the bucket now was about 68 yards in the air on a line, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, it had pace and momentum. It wasn't just like Russell Wilson throws a beautiful deep ball he used to, but it's like a moonshot. That thing might touch the top of a stadium, you know what I'm saying, before it comes back down. You know what I'm saying? Josh put that thing damn near on the line for almost 70 in the air, and Diggs just misplays it. I don't even know if he left his feet and tried to underhand it, and it bounced off his chest plate. You know what I'm saying? Like Stephon Diggs, for the last, let's say, 3 years or so, comfortably a top 5 guy at the position, a premier guy at the position before this year, and so just leaves one on the ground. And then we get, I think there was 2 other explosive plays that got dropped or misplayed. Khalil Shakir, he dropped one as well, a good 40-yard pass. And so Josh goes for 186 and 1 touchdown. Man, they left a good 150 yards from 3 passes on the field for drop passes. And so it's almost like the Chiefs and the Bills receiver corps switch places as far as like dropping critical passes in this game. But then, like I said, you can't say enough about the job that Andy Reid and the Chiefs did. And this is where my dog Chop was talking about, because one of the things I said, Isaiah Pacheco's production in this game is going to tell me if the Chiefs won. I said, if Isaiah Pacheco tops 80 yards, like if you set the over-under at 79.5, if Isaiah Pacheco runs for more than 80 yards, the Chiefs will win this game. And he goes 15 for 97 in the touchdown. You know what I'm saying? And so he really was a guy, and especially at the end of this game as well, really bursting through, I think, the first run to set up like the last exhaustion of the last of the Bills touchdown or timeouts. He brings like 8 yards on first down. So now it's 2nd and 2. You know what I'm saying? Now y'all dead in the water at this point. You know what I mean? And so, but Isaiah Pacheco really was the difference maker in this game for me. And like I said, and I think his play, really had a lot to do with just the way this game was able to unfold. Like him consistently being able to grind out yards in big plays as well, explosive runs. You know what I'm saying? And so he played phenomenal. Patty and Kelsey, they rekindled. Kelsey, like I said, he had another touchdown in addition to that first one I talked about. He finishes 5 for 75 with 2 touchdowns. And yeah, man, then that Chiefs defense was as advertised. Chris Jones, and I seen a lot of y'all in the chat, y'all was on Chris Jones' head in that first half because it looked like he was getting pushed around a little bit because the Bills had early run success, namely in the first half. Chris Jones.
It was me. It was me.
Was he? Okay, yeah, I know it was. It was Chop. It was Chop. And so, but in the second half, Chris Jones made the two most critical plays for that defense in the second half. Two of the more critical plays. Josh Allen has to boot out and scramble to the right. It's Chris Jones who chases him down and knocks the ball out of his hands, and the game could have been over right there. The Buffalo ends up recovering that ball, but that was a very critical play right there that really stopped the momentum on that drive. Buffalo, I think, does recover that fumble, and I want to say I don't think they get the first down conversion after that next play. I think that might have been right before the fake punt, perhaps. I can't remember. But then also, just like you said, the second down play, and this is another thing about that play. I'm talking about the failed touchdown pass on second down when they drive down to take a lead in this game. That's a touchdown pass. I don't want to hear people complain about him not checking it down to Stephon Diggs, who shit. If his performance for the last 2 months of the season, let alone this game, was any indication, I don't know if Stephon Diggs is going to catch that ball. Realistically, but all jokes aside, he's got him going on a shallow cross. There are 2 Chiefs defenders on that left side of the ball. Maybe he gets the first, maybe he doesn't. But that first down, or let's say he gets 8 yards there, because I think it was just 2nd and 10, so now it's 3rd and 2. That still doesn't change the trajectory of this game. All right, well, no, I shouldn't say that, because now 3rd and 2, maybe we change the play call. We worry about getting the first down, but that's a touchdown. Like, there was a touchdown. Chris Jones walks Deion Dawkins, the left tackle, Pro Bowler. Deion Dawkins went to the Pro Bowl this year. He walks him back into Josh Allen, and Josh Allen gets his own man pushed into him as he's letting that ball go. And then, honestly, the ball falls, like 3 yards short. He can't get enough on it. It was a wide open touchdown. And so I'm not going to fault him, especially taking that shot play on second down. That's another thing for me that's critical in this situation, because we still do have another down to maybe be more conservative. But you got to take them points when you get them. I hate when people – I've never – and me and Chop, we've talked about this on the show before. I'm never one to turn around a touchdown and try to assume I'll get it later. If we're down and we have a chance to score, I want them points right now. Because you know what? I pay the guys on defense just like I pay the guys on offense. Them guys hadn't shown up yet, but it's not guaranteed that they couldn't have showed up one time this game. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still would rather – I don't want to turn down points I don't want to turn down the one in my hand because I think there's 2 in that bush. There was a touchdown on that play. If he has a quarter second longer, if Deion Dawkins holds up for a split second longer, it's a touchdown. They go up by 2, maybe 3, because we don't know if the kicker is going to make the extra point. But they go up 2 or 3, and now you do turn the ball back over to Patty with, I think it was under the 2-minute warning. And so Patty's got to go be magical. Now, whether or not Patty would have or could have been magical in that case, we know he can't. He scored in 13 seconds. But what he did yesterday ain't got nothing to do with what he's got to do right now today. And so he still got to do it. I want to put him in a position to go out and do it again versus just saying, like, oh, well, you can't. Like, nah, man, we had points on the board, so I'm not mad at him going to try to take those points. But honestly, man, it's one of those things where the better team won. The Chiefs were just the better team, just flat out. Now, whatever, man, I get enough flack for Josh Allen, but I'll say it again. Josh Allen, for my money, was the best individual football player on the field in that game, bro. He was the best player on the field. He was the best player on the field. He didn't play for the best team. They didn't win that game. I'm not even going to say individually quarterback for quarterback. I think he's the best player on the field. We'll talk about if he's the best quarterback specifically. He's the best player on the field. I think that can't be understated. And man, he like I said, man, they lost to the better team. Like I said, the cream rose to the top, man. The championship pedigree of the Chiefs came through and shown through, and now we'll see if they can continue it, man. And this for me is a painful AFC championship game. I don't want to see either one of these teams win. I can't cheer for the Ravens. I'm so tired of these spoiled Chiefs fans. You know what I'm saying? The Chiefs fans are the new Cowboys fans, except I guess they're winning right now. But just, they so arrogant. I can't stand Chiefs fans no more. And then now, but I can't cheer for the Ravens. I got to cheer for an NFC Super Bowl winner, regardless of who gets there. So it's going to be rough for me going forward. But no, kudos to the Chiefs. Like I said, kudos to Andy Reid and that staff. And just like my dog Chop said, man, that was just primetime championship level football on display from Patrick Mahomes. He didn't light it up. He threw for 200 yards in this game. 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't light it up, but when it was time to make a play, when it's time to hit a guy in the right position, putting the ball where it needs to be, making sure Pacheco gets his touches. You know what I'm saying? Not checking. I mean, he just rose to the occasion and just played championship caliber ball, and they get out of that game with a W, man. So kudos to the Chiefs.
Gotcha. All right, Willie Jack. Well, we talked about the games. We wrap these games up. We do not have any previews for you because the games are both on Sunday. So we're gonna get that to you on Sunday morning, man. So y'all make sure y'all tap in with us. You know what I'm saying? 10 a.m. Central Time, Sunday morning. But before we get out of here, Willie Jack, who was your actual performer of the week, man? Give me your performer of the week from these 4 games, man. We had the Chiefs, Bills, Bucks, Lions, Packers, 49ers, and Ravens in Houston, man. Out of all of those games, who was your performer of the week this week?
Oh, okay. If we include Ravens, Houston, then I think it's got to be Lamar, man. He just completely took over the second half of that game. Was it 300 total yards? Or no, like 250 yards. He only threw for 150 yards. He ran for another 100 yards.
Or so.
Yeah, he threw for like 150. He ran for 100. I think he had 4 total touchdowns in that game. And so I think if we're looking at it that way, I think we go with Lamar. But the unsung hero, man, the guy, if we just talking about the last 2 games that we just talked about, Isaiah Pacheco, man, he really turned out to be like the difference maker that I saw that he could be in that game. And I really feel like his steady, consistent presence in the run game really just running through that Buffalo Bills front seven, man, and really just forcing them to stay honest is what he did. You know what I'm saying? Forcing them to stay honest defensively, and he really had a huge impact in that game for my money.
Gotcha. All right, and if I had to pick a performer of the week, man, I think I am gonna go with Pat Mahomes. I go with Pat Mahomes, but I think Pat Mahomes played a flawless game, man, and it was just like you just got done saying, the championship caliber football, and it was just the right plays, precise. Didn't light it up, but it was just everything that the Chiefs needed in this particular game, man. So I got to go with Pat Mahomes, and as my performer of the week this week, and getting that big win on the road against the Buffalo Bills. So that's where I'm going.
Okay. Hold on, Charles. I can't even let you get out of here without this. Let's go back to that Mecole Hardman football, because I don't know if me and you have talked about this rule or not. Where do you stand on that rule? There's a lot of talk about, especially offensive guys, wanting them to go back and change that ruling where if the offense fumbles the ball through the end zone, it shouldn't turn over to the defense. It should just, like, they're saying that the offense should be like penalized, had to go back to the 20, but they still get to keep the ball or something like that. Where do you stand on that, man? You want to see that rule changed, or are you fine with the rule as it is? That if you fumble it through the end zone, it goes to the defense.
That's a good one, man. I don't have any issue with the rule. I do understand why people would have an issue with the rule, just off the simple fact that, hey, man, I fumble this ball any other time. If it goes out of bounds or anywhere else, I get it at the spot of the fumble. You know what I'm saying? So maybe you get it at the spot of the fumble instead of doing that. I'm okay with that, changing it to that. But to go as far as, all right, I fumbled it and it happened to go through the end zone and out of bounds. Not only we not have the ball anymore, the team has the other ball. The team has the ball, and the field position changed and everything like that. Nah, I think I'm okay with a rule change. I think I'm okay, but at the same time, I don't have any real issue with the rule. It's weird though. I don't know who came up with it, but it's a weird rule to come up with in terms of, all right, it changes possession if you fumble it through the end zone. You know what I'm saying?
No, well, I'll tell you, I like the rule, and for one, because we don't need to make this league any easier for the offenses. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you fumble and it goes out of bounds, okay, well, yeah, now if nobody recovered, okay, you get the ball right out of bounds. But the end zone, we forget, the end zone isn't a part of the active field. You know what I'm saying? Like, because as soon as the ball touches the end zone, a play's dead. You know what I'm saying? Play's dead and it's a score. You know what I'm saying? The nose of the ball rubs up against the very front inch of the paint. Touchdown, plays dead, plays over. It doesn't matter if it gets knocked out a split second late. So we have the end zone isn't a part of the offensive. Like it can't be. I don't think it should be able to be used as part of like additional yardage for the offense. So like I don't mind it, and I think ZB summed it up perfectly. My thoughts exactly. How about don't fumble it in the most important part of the field? You know what I'm saying? Like you play this game to put the ball across that line. So you fumble the ball and it goes through the end zone. Like I the defense had to make that play. Like, was that Micah Hyde who scraped across and as he's going down, he's back, like it was an intentional play. That's the defense making a play. You know what I'm saying? Now, like he knocks that ball out. Now the fact that it goes through the end zone, you know, it is what it is. But I don't dislike that rule at all. Offense don't need no more help, man. You know what I'm saying? Like everything else is it's already crafted for y'all to make plays, and that's another chance for the defense to stop y'all. You know what I'm saying? So like, shoot, tighten up. You know what I'm saying? Handle your business, and you ain't got to worry about it. So I'm not mad at the rule at all.
The only reason I say that, and I don't have a real issue with the rule either. You know what I'm saying? As I mentioned, but like the only reason I say that is if okay, well, just like the end zone is not a part of the real play, out of bounds isn't either. So if we're gonna do it that way, if I fumble the ball out of bounds, how about we just change the possession right there? We change the possession and let the defense get the ball.
Well, no, because see, you can run out of like running out of bounds or taking the ball out of bounds that's still a part of standard play. Like we like if we're scrambling, I don't want to take a hit on the sideline. I can step out of bounds and maintain possession, or like I need to stop the clock. So like there's already precedent for using like out of bounds as a part actively of like offensive ball movement. And so out of bounds is a part of the game. And also defenders get to use out of bounds. And you know what I'm saying? That's the 12th defender. You know what I'm saying? You know about that. You know what I'm saying? Like if you one-on-one and somebody's going up top, you want to squeeze them to the sideline because that's your 12th defender right there. You know what I'm saying? But like if you like, bro, you don't get to, I just don't like, you don't get to lose your lottery ticket. You know what I'm saying? Like you accidentally drop your lottery ticket in the sewer, and then you get to show up at the lottery office, like, man, I had that ticket, but I dropped it, and we still give you the money. Like, no, bro, you show up with your ticket or get the hell on. You know what I'm saying? I'm not mad about the rule, man.
I don't understand the difference between fumbling out of bounds and fumbling through the end zone. I don't feel like
because it's still in the active play. So like it's out of bounds, but it's in the active field of play. So it might be on the 24-yard line out of bounds, the 12-yard line out of bounds. The end zone is like its own special area. Like it's not a part of the active field of play. You know what I'm saying? Like when guys, it's not a part of the active field of play. Like it's its own thing. Like it's its own thing. Like yeah, I think it's different. So
the reason that's what I'm saying. We talking about a fumble though. You know what I'm saying? It's a fumble, bro.
Yeah, bro. Like, yeah, I'm like, no, you fumble, bro. Like, you choked at the goal line. Like, if you fumble the ball,
it don't matter where you choke it. If you choke on the sideline, you don't just reward the defense just for fumbling on the sideline and it goes out of bounds and nobody gets it. If you don't get it and it goes,
you know what? That's already a benefit for the offense. They don't get punished for that. You see what I'm saying? They already don't get punished for that. Just like you said, they get to keep
right. So what I'm saying is, if
they don't need no more extras, bro. They don't need no more extras. They already get the fumble out of bounds if they want to.
Willie Jack, that's what I'm saying. If we're gonna change it, change it. If you're gonna change that fumble rule, then make it to where, all right, if I fumble out of bounds, the defense gets the ball too.
No, I don't. That don't make no sense to me, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. That don't make no sense, bro.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that don't make no sense.
Yeah, man.
Okay, but yeah, I wanted to here we go. Like that's been like a topic, man, and people are trying to push to get it changed. And we've seen like if enough people complain about it because they changed the overtime rule because of that 13-second game with Patrick and Josh, because Josh never got a chance to touch the ball. And so it was enough people complaining about it that they changed the overtime rules now. And so it's been a lot of people complaining about this rule. But I hope they don't change this rule, man.
You're not gonna we're not gonna ever be able to make everybody happy when it. That's what they need to understand. You're never gonna be able to make everybody happy. Just make rules that are for the better. That's at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. So yeah, and then Tom says, yeah, if anybody the ball crosses the goal line, like I said, exactly. They don't have to do much to score the touchdown. If a lace on the ball grazes the front pylon, you know what I'm saying? You jump out of bounds, and you only have to put the ball in the end zone. You have to take it in. The ball goes over the pylon. We give them too many. They have too many opportunities to score. Like I look at causing a fumble to go through the end zone as the defense. A lot of the times, as the defense actively making a play to stop you. You know what I'm saying? So the defense shouldn't be, because now we're rewarding it's a freebie for the offense. Like, oh, damn. Now Kansas City gets the ball right back at the 2-yard line to punch it on in after the defense makes a spectacular defensive play to stop. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, man, they don't.
But that's my point. Because it sounds like because it's just in that dramatic area that's the only area that should count in. If I make a spectacular play at the 50-yard line and I make you fumble, why I can't get it in?
No, because it's just a dead ball if you go out of bounds. If the ball goes out of bounds, it's just a dead ball. Like it's just a dead ball. Like you can run and carry the ball out of bounds, but you're still in the active field of play. It's just a dead ball. Like the end zone isn't an active field of play. Like you don't get credit for being 2 yards into the end zone and then you go out of bounds. Like nah, you cross the front line. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to escort the ball across the line. So if the ball makes it in unpossessed, it's not an offensive ball. That was a loose ball that went out through the end zone. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody possessed it, so we're not gonna give it back. Just like, oh hey man, y'all dropped $1 million, man. Here, I tell you what, here you go, man. I know you didn't mean to drop that $1 million. Like hell no. You know what I'm saying? Like yeah, but yeah, no, you know, okay, no. I was curious, like I said, man, because like it's been getting a lot of steam, man. So this very well may be one of those rules that ends up getting changed, but it's gonna make me sick if they do.
I got you. Well, yeah. Speaking of ball, Willie Jack, who gets our game ball today, man? Who gets the game ball on this show tonight?
No, for sure, man. And matter of fact, shout out to the members that was definitely in the building, man. Let's go with our dog, man. ZB, man. Zach the Mac, man, holding us down a long way, man. You know we appreciate all the love, homeboy. But yeah, let's go ZB with the game ball tonight.
Absolutely. Well, there you go, man. Zach the Mac, you won the game ball, man. Hey, and that's pretty much it for the episode today, Willie Jack. I think it's about that time you wrap us on up, big dog.
No, for sure, you're right, man. And shout out to the members that was definitely in the building. Man, shout out to the fam bam moms and my auntie was in the building. Appreciate y'all, love y'all. Wife and sister of the show, Mrs. Boyce was in this thing. Game ball winner, ZB Zach the Neck, our favorite co-worker. He was in the building holding us down. Man, our dog, man, Miles kind of came through, held us down as well. And then, of course, what would a show be without Terrible Time Walker coming in and holding it down for those Houston Texans as well? And then, man, y'all know what's going on, man. I'm looking for you. I'm looking for you. Say it with me at home. You know what I'm about to say. If I forgot to say your name, damn, my bad. But charge it to my head. Don't charge it to my heart. You know we think about you. Appreciate all the love, support as always. Definitely, man. The Final Four is here. Who's going to punch those tickets to go to the big dance, man? Y'all tune in and tap in with us Sunday at 10 o'clock. See how we break down those games, man. Until then, y'all have fun. Y'all be safe. You have a good rest of the night. Peace.
Peace.